topic, and it's definitely the horrific incidents of the Paris attacks. And Muslim leaders all over the world condemned the horrific terror attacks that struck Paris, expressing outrage and shock at an onslaught of shooting and bombings that left at least scores dead and hundreds wounded. The outpouring of support for the victims and disgust for the attacks began even before ISIS, the militant terrorist group terrorizing entire sections of Iraq and Syria, claimed responsibility for the carnage. To be speaking about this topic and more, we're joined with Dr. Said Amin, professor at Azhar University. I'd like to thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for your invitation.
Dr. Said, welcome to our show. And as an Islamic scholar, how did you react to the recent attacks in Paris?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, the ever gracious, the ever merciful. To start with, I'm lost for words. I don't know what to do and how to describe these bloody, violent attacks. They are really despicable, and they are done against people who have no hand in the matter. They are outside the conflict zone in all troubled areas, whether in the Middle East, in Africa, or there. So, in my own terminology, ISIS, and I'll explain because I'm not quite confident using the term ISIS or ISIL. I would suggest QSIS, that's Al-Qaeda separatists in Iraq and the Levant. They are moving to what we call in international relations a soft target. They are leaving the hard target, that's Al-Adu, Al-Qarib, and they are moving to the other target, that's Al-Adu al-Ba'id, the far enemy and the near enemy. And this is a strategy, by the way, that has been adopted by the followers of the militant Islamic group in Egypt in the 70s and early 80s. So we need to read it through history. So they are hitting a soft target in Paris this time. And if you try to link what's going on, you can find similar incidents in Lebanon, the museum in Tunisia, Sydney siege. So these are series of attacks of soft targets. They are bloody and they are violent and they are inhuman. And the one who carried them, we can't say that he or she is a perfect Muslim or a Muslim, so to speak. He's a criminal. And in our own media shows and in world media shows, those people shouldn't be ascribed to Islam. Mm-hmm. We shouldn't name them ISIS, Islamic State. No, that they are not Islamic and they are not a state, so to speak, to start with. Mm-hmm. So they are Al-Qaeda separatists. They are followers of a specific line of thinking, believing in violence, believing in bloodshed, trying to move with their own faults and with their own complexities to a different ground.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So the recent Paris attacks were committed by those separatists, as you mentioned, who claims to be jihadists. So if you can shed some light on, the actual meaning of jihad.
Jihad is one of the widely misunderstood terms in our modern age. It's a very innocent word that has been capped or shrouded with abuse and misuse. This word has really been abused. It's a Quranic word. It has its origin in different Quranic literal interpretations. 800 exegetes or interpretations of the Quran from the from the second half of the 2nd century in our Muslim history has been talking about jihad up to the present time. And jihad has different interpretations. One of them is the lesser jihad and the greater jihad. And probably the European audience or the Western viewers doesn't know that the greater jihad in our own Muslim understanding, and by Muslim understanding I refer to the mainstream Muslim understanding. I'm not talking about a narrow or a cornered, somewhere limited rural understanding, uncivilized understanding. I mean the understanding of the scholars who predominantly represent committees, recognized countries, scholars at Al-Azhar from time immemorial up till now. The greater jihad is a jihad which you exercise against your own ego, against your own self. It is the jihad in which you try to rectify yourself to be a better person, and importantly, a better human being. So this is the jihad which we are after. The lesser jihad is when you are attacked, when other people come and attack your home and attack your country, attack your family, and you are within a modern nation-state system. You cannot just go hit and run style, such as what happens in different parts of the world. You need to react within a system. So jihad has been systematized in our modern age. And by the way, jihad is not limited to the warfare. The warfare has its own rules and regulations. Every country in our modern world, especially if it is a country which is a member of the United Nations, has the right to self-defense and to react with some kind of proportionate reaction or proportionate military action in order to defend itself as a country, to defend its sovereignty. But the most important thing is that jihad shouldn't be left to individual people, or to the individual to react and to do whatever he wants, even if he is attacked. As long as he's living within a nation-state system, he's having a rule, he's having a constitution, he has the legal avenues, he has the legal means to defend him or herself. But what's happening is that a group comes from nowhere and practice nowhere and try to say that we are the caliphate, we are the true Muslims, and I am the caliph. Who declared, for example, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi or his followers to be caliphs or to be responsible for us? Who, Dalia Mujahid, one of the main figures, speaking about Islam in America, probably giving advice to the current American president, along with John Esposito, authored a very wonderful book, Who Speaks for Islam? This is a question that we need to address. Who speaks on behalf of 1.5 billion Muslims worldwide? Is he Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi in Raqqa from his pulpit somewhere in Mosul or in Raqqa or in different
But Dr.
parts
Said,
of the
we have a
Levant?
problem here. Any heinous terrorist attacks that occur in Europe or in the United States or whatever, in any foreign country, first they look for an Arab, second for a Muslim. And now the new is an Arab Muslim refugee. So on the other hand, we find the Arab countries are defending themselves. No, it's not us. This is not Islam. And it's a kind of a cycle we are moving in. So how we can solve such a problem? Because it's affecting the Arabs and affecting also our religion, Islam.
If you allow me, we are part of the problem and we are also part of the solution. We need to stop being the victim mentality anymore. When we hear about an incident happening somewhere in Paris, in New York, in Chicago, whatever, it's an incident, it's a terrorist incident happening there, carried by a criminal, and there is an investigation to be done. We shouldn't, raise our hands and say, no, it's not us. We are very innocent. Islam, no. Having that defensive attitude all the time may take the other party to think that, or let's say to point his fingers of accusation against you. It's a terrorist incident. No blood is thicker than the other blood. The Western blood, the French blood is not thicker than the Egyptian blood. And the Egyptian blood is not thicker than the Syrian or the Lebanese or the Australian blood. Every blood is sacred in all world religions, in all heavenly sent religions, Abrahamic faith, they say. Whether Islam, whether Christianity, whether Judaism, life is life and life is very sacred. And to our own Muslim tradition or Muslim understanding, the life of a human being the bloodshed of a human being, killing a human being is more sacred in the sight of Allah than the demolishing of the Kaaba, which is our symbol of sacredness. لزوال الدنيا أهون عند الله لزوال الكعبة أهون عند الله من قتل امرئ بغير حق. This is what we believe as Muslims. But again, thank you, it's a very good point. But we need not to fall within the fall very to a victimized mentality or to adopt a very defensive attitude all the time. If we are addressed, this is a criminal. This is so many Christians, by the way, commit acts of terrorism in America, in Western Europe, everywhere in the world, and no one says that they are Christians. No one says that they are Jews doing this or that. It's high time that we, because we are part of the problem as Muslims, we stop doing it. He or she is a criminal. He has done a terrorist act. He or she needs to be tried fairly and equitably, and he or she deserves whatever punishment.
Okay.
Yes. So there's a version in the Holy Quran speaking about if a person kills another